Good morning, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour. It is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. I'm so excited to be here on Tuesday. It's 63 degrees outside. I can't wait to get started on Tuesday. It's the best day of the week. What's up, Shane?
I'm about to fall out of my chair. You hate Tuesdays.
I do hate Tuesdays.
This is benign. You need an MRI.
Yeah.
Something's wrong upstairs.
Yeah, well, my psychiatrist said, hey, you got to embrace Tuesday, you know? You got
Okay. Embrace it.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, because you're otherwise you're going to be all depressed, and people stop tuning in, and you got to embrace this day as it's your own. He says,
like your nightmares. Like you're going to embrace your nightmares.
Right? Yeah. Face your fears.
Face your fears, baby.
That's what I'm doing this morning. I'm facing Tuesday, eyes wide open, ready for Tuesday. Ready for Jeff Krauss will be in at 8 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, we'll be talking to the school bus transportation people are going to be in. We're going to talk about if you need a job, maybe a school bus driver is for you. So we'll find out. And what's going on with the school buses and how are they going to get 7,000 kids to the high school, not counting all the elementary schools in the district. So.
Well, yeah, and it's like a part-time job. You go in the morning and you go in the afternoon.
That's it. That's
it.
Yeah, it's pretty good deal. So just have to be up kind of early, but hey, we don't mind that, do we?
Nah.
That's a piece of cake.
I roll around in the morning now, so
getting up in the middle.
It's half the work.
Yeah, getting up in the middle of the night, no problem.
Yeah,
at all.
In the morning, you got to roll around to wake up.
That's right. Yeah, I gotta. I don't know, man. I gotta sit on the edge of the bed for a few minutes.
Exactly.
Get my bearings. Where the hell am I?
Yeah, I have to make sure my ears are balanced. I don't want to get up and then fall into the wall and go, how did that happen?
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's well, I don't know. We've only been doing it for 9 months, so I guess we're used to it by now.
Oh, no, not me. I've been waking up in the morning and falling into walls for 20 years.
Oh, yeah? All right. Well, good for you, I guess. Well, today's weather, hey, there's only a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 3 p.m. This afternoon. It's going to be mostly sunny with a high near 90. We're going to be near 90 today, Shane, so it's going to be pretty warm out there. Tonight, also a 20% chance of rain before 8, and then mostly cloudy and clearing up, and a low of 55. And in Wednesday, same story, sunny with a high near 90, no chance of rain. And Wednesday night, partly cloudy with a low around 58. And then on Thursday, we get a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms afternoon, mostly cloudy with a high near 81 on Thursday. And then Thursday night, we got a chance of showers and thunderstorms before 9 o'clock. Then a chance of rain between 9 and midnight. Partly cloudy, low around 50. And then Friday, pretty good day, sunny and high near 81. And Friday overnight, mostly cloudy, low around 54. And then Saturday is 83, and Sunday is near 80. So pretty nice week. Little chance of showers in there around Thursday or Friday or so. But otherwise, we're in pretty good shape this week.
Well, you scored 100 out, 10 out of 10 for last week. So
we did pretty well last week. So I'm happy about that. But
anyway. You're coming up on the last 2 weeks of August. Got to get it right.
I know, got to get it right. So
kids are going back to school.
Yeah. Well, temperatures around the area right now: Livingston's 54 degrees, Manhattan's 55, Three Forks is 54. Gallatin Gateway's 57, Anna's 54, Big Sky is 53, and at the airport in Belgrade right now it's 55 degrees. We're right at 60 degrees here downtown Bozeman at 10 minutes after the hour. And as I said, it's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. I'm so excited to be here on Tuesday. Yeah. This is where I want to be on Tuesday, right here, talking to you, Shane. Well, on this date in history, 1833, Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd President of the United States, was born in North Bend, Ohio.
lot of presidents from Ohio. I think
Yeah.
latest count was 8.
Yeah, a lot of
And
them.
then
Yeah.
and then Illinois, and then or no, excuse me, Virginia, and
Yeah.
then Illinois. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He was a grandson of the 9th president, William Henry Harrison. I don't know if the viewers knew that. So
Yeah.
he was bouncing on his grandpa's knee as president, and then looked and said, I want to be president. And was.
Yeah.
But his he was the great grandson of Benjamin Harrison V, who was a founding father. So he was a founding father from Pennsylvania, I believe.
All right.
So that's cool. But what he was really remembered for was Grover Cleveland came before him and after him, and his legislative agenda was successful with the McKinley Tariff Agreement, which is from the 1880s. He had that ratified. The Sherman Antitrust Act, which is really important because of what Grover Cleveland did with it. I know we've talked about it before. And he's the one who created the National Forest Reserves. Yeah, a lot of people think it was Teddy Roosevelt. Just the national parks. It was the liberal Harrison who gave up the National Forest Reserve, folks. So there you go.
All right.
The Land Revised Act of 1891, and he was also he also fought in the Civil War. I believe the last president elected that fought in the Civil War.
Wow. He was a busy guy.
He was a busy guy. He even had children.
Wow.
But
glad he took the time.
and he lived to 69, so he got to see the millennium. Like 1901, he died, but so he got to see the New Year's, new millennial, millennium, or whatever.
New century. Got to see a new century born.
There you go.
Yeah. 1914, German forces occupied Brussels, Belgium during a World War I.
Yeah, this was, of course, the result of the Prussian-German War earlier in the 19th century, where Germany and Austria were united. And so they thought they'd play a little, well, let's try a Napoleonic thing.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's. Brussels looks easy. Let's go there.
And they always go through the lowlands of Europe, which is Brussels and Denmark. We don't
want to climb any mountains or anything like that. We want we want an easy trip.
And it just turned into a 7-year, slot fight. It's just war of attrition on 4 generations, right? By the time the World War I was over, folks, England was drafting men over 40.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah.
Getting a letter from your local constabulary. We're drafting you, but I'm 47 years old.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we still need you.
We'll give you you will get an olive drab walker.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. In 1918, 4 years later, Britain opened an offensive on the Western Front during World War I, and took that place with the 40-year-old guys, I guess.
That's right. All these battles were so strategic because of the trench warfare they found themselves in, and until the Americans came and said, enough of this.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, let's get this over with. Let's get this over with. Well, in 1940, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill paid tribute to the Royal Air Force, saying, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
An incredible man of words. He's making reference, of course, to the Battle of Britain.
Right.
When Britain stood alone, and the Luftwaffe, Goebbels. No, it wasn't Goebbels. What was the guy in the blue suit? The big fat guy that worked for Hitler. He ran the Luftwaffe, and he convinced Hitler that he could destroy the British Air Force so they could invade England. And anyway, long story short, he failed, and those Spitfires were just too much for him, man. They were Hornets and Spitfires were Yeah.
Those were the days.
And the volunteer Canadian American pilots too. There were a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, in 1953, the Soviet Union publicly announced it had tested a hydrogen bomb. Ooh.
Yeah, interesting thing about this.
We were all duck and cover back in the school days back then.
That's right. And, just recently, we covered this a couple of weeks ago, so I didn't want to repeat myself again on it because there's something in the news that's so important. And the Russians now have admitted that the explosion suffered a couple of weeks ago was a result of a reactor that blew up that they were testing to operate a cruise missile. Now, the United States looked at this back in the 60s. It was called Project Pluto. It's sort of important because the idea was to put a nuclear-powered ramjet on a cruise missile, which would allow it to fly endlessly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could fly anywhere.
Endlessly around the planet.
Like a nuclear submarine never has to surface.
That's right, which is somewhat scary because it would be a game changer.
Sure. And
they gave up on it because the concept worked, but when they tested it, the nuclear-powered ramjet would overheat, and the risk of causing not just an explosion of the entire cruise missile, but as a result of that, a nuclear explosion, which was not the purpose.
A little testy there. So
they gave up on it. But I thought you would want to know that this explosion in Russia was 250 miles north of Moscow, and several people died. But it's not as bad as Chernobyl, but it's still an above-ground nuclear explosion, and that's a scary thought that these guys are whacking bombs again.
Like, I know. Yeah, it is kind of. I don't know. Where are we going with this, Shane?
That's why people have to know it's happening. It's out there. It's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, we got to take care of some farmers, ranchers, truck drivers, and cab drivers, and all the people that bring you booze, food, and clothing. And let's get to the Montana report. Montana news and ag right now. 23 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 64 degrees outside. We're looking for a high near 90 today, so should be pretty nice and warm out there. So be careful if, stay out of the heat if you can and enjoy yourself. It's going to be a pretty nice day today. Well, in this date, 1955, hundreds of people were killed.
Whoa. No, you can't pass this one, buddy. Sorry. Can't. This is too important. What, Morocco. You know why Morocco is important?
Well, I'm not passing it. I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
1955, hundreds of people were killed in anti-French rioting in Morocco and Algeria. Come on.
My apologies. I'm so excited to share this with our listener. Morocco was the first nation to recognize the fledgling United States as an independent nation in 1977. Now, I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know that, no.
In the beginning of the American Revolution, the American merchant ships in the Atlantic.
Are you talking about 1777, not 1977?
1777, the first country to recognize you as an independent country.
Yeah.
And American shipping was having a problem with Barbary pirates in the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
On December 20th, also, December 20th of December 1977, Morocco's Sultan Mohammed III declared the American merchant ships would be under the protection of his country and could thus enjoy safe passage. It was called the Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship, signed in 1786. It stands as the U.S.'s oldest non-broken friendship treaty.
Wow.
I bet nobody listening knew that.
Nobody. I didn't even know that. Nobody knows that.
Unless you were in the 8th grade, happy reading American history.
All right. 1964, President Lyndon Johnson signed a nearly $1 billion anti-poverty measure, $1964, I might add. And the poverty needle has barely moved in 50 years.
That's correct. The number of people in poverty today is the same as it was when this came out. And the great danger of what he did was he sent 100,000 government officers out across the United States to African American women and said, now we're going to provide for you if you have children. Oh, but you can't have a husband in the home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be a single, single mom with children, and we're going to provide you benefits.
Yeah.
But again, but you can't have a man in the home. Well, there you go. The beginning. Once again, the Democrats found another way to destroy the African American family after everything else they had done to them for the previous 100 years. So, very, very sad piece of legislation. Unintended consequences resulting in the demise of the African American family. It is. It's blatant destruction of their family. But nobody wants to talk about that.
Well, and when the spigot stopped, abortion was the only answer because you couldn't feed or clothe them. So, boom. Yes, sir. More people, more blacks aborted in New York City than are born.
That's right. Very sad.
It is sad. Yeah, very sad. Well, in 1977, the United States launched Voyager 2, an unmanned spacecraft carrying a 12-inch copper phonograph record containing greetings in dozens of languages, samples of music, and sounds of nature. I hope they sent a player with it.
Well, it was the first satellite that they used to. The gravity of the planets happened to be set up at the time they launched it, and 41 years ago, 11 months and 29 days. Fascinating movement around the gas giants of Saturn and Jupiter, which so many things they didn't know about. And then they got to Neptune, the ice giants, Neptune and Uranus, and then on to Pluto, which they found fascinating too. Amazing thing is $4.7 billion to the edge of our solar system, and it's gone beyond.
Wow. Quite a deal.
It is, yeah.
Well, the 1992, the Republican National Convention in Houston nominated President George H.W. Bush and Vice President Dan Quayle for a second term, and that was unfortunately unsuccessful for them.
It was because Quayle never learned how to spell potato.
That's it. If he had learned to do that, and if he hadn't been comparing himself to John Kennedy, they could have won. Who knows? And of course, Bush said no new taxes, but guess what? There were new taxes.
Yeah, so. the old read my lips. Yeah, and it was It was the governor of Texas that said during her speech at the Democratic convention, poor George, he can't help himself.
He can't.
He can't help himself. He just put a golden foot in his mouth.
That's it. Well, on this date in 2006, former Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal, who took the iconic Iwo Jima flag-raising picture during World War II, died at the age of 94. And we got to get out of here. And
okay, buddy.
Yeah, we got Montana State News coming up, Fox News, Brooke Foster with the weather, and just all sorts of stuff. So let's stay tuned. I'm curious as to what's coming next.
I'll wait every day, buddy. Something else to talk about.
That's for sure. We'll be back with more right after the news. Stay tuned. 25 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 64 degrees outside. We're looking for a high near 90 today, Shane. And from our text line, 478-8298. Come on, Shane. I highly doubt it was unintended consequences for the Dems. I'm pretty sure they knew exactly what they were doing regarding money for single black moms. So
probably, I would agree with that. Knowing what they've done to your country, I definitely don't think it was.
Don't think that was it, huh? Well, in local news, Shane, we got some things going on. One in particular is that there is this is kind of a no-brainer to me. There's a new paper out published by the Nature Sustainability that suggests the world's response to wildfires that tear through towns and housing developments may need to change. Well, duh. What a surprise. They need more proactive planning for fires and thinking twice before rebuilding in the same place after a wildfire.
Yeah.
So it also makes the case for allowing some fires to burn and using prescribed fire more often to clear out heavy fuel loads that can make for dangerous wildfire conditions. So,
wow.
What a surprise that all of a sudden realize this. I'm so excited that
Exactly.
our tax dollars at work are thinking, these folks understand the, why don't we get rid of some of the dead stuff around these homes? Maybe set a little fire every once in a while to get rid of the fuel, but I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. It's sometimes I wonder about some of these commissions and I assume somebody's getting paid to do that.
Well, not only that, but it's a great way to cover your whatever,
Well, yeah.
CYA.
Yeah. Well, we got more developments coming, Shane. Developers of a large Bozeman neighborhood near downtown plan to pave the way for more housing. The Bozeman Commission Monday night approved Delaney and Company's request to develop lots for 9 new homes and set aside 1 lot for future condominiums in the village downtown. Now, what is significant about 9 homes?
It's an odd number.
It's if you have 10, you got to have affordable housing.
Oh my gosh, you can't be serious.
Well, I wish I wasn't, but if that was well, anyway, if you don't know where this is, it's behind Town Pump on across from Lindley Park and in that area there. It's you go around behind there, and there's some really nice places back there. But anyway, they're going to put some more. They're going to develop lots for 9 homes, and the development of on an empty field is separate from the other 200 units the city's already approved in the village, and the property's been vacant for a long time. And of course, as I said, the development's 9 lots for single-family homes fall below the city's 10-lot threshold that triggers Bozeman's affordable housing mandate. So,
wow,
you put up 9, you're home free. You put up 10, you got to have a tent.
Yeah,
in addition to the other 9 homes. So
that's incredible, isn't it?
I don't know. It's you wonder what they're thinking sometimes,
Well, trying to think ahead, Tom.
I guess I don't know. So anyway, that will we'll talk to Jeff about that because they approved it last night, I guess.
Oh, of course. Well, yeah, he will be there. He's always
there.
Put
it on the Jeff list at 8:00. We'll ask him about the 9 and 10. Why those are the way they are, but I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, 4 members resigned from a citizen advisory committee. Gallatin County is making plans to eliminate the group and bring its work in-house. So earlier this summer, the chair, the vice chair, and 2 other members of the Capital Improvements Program Committee stepped down, criticizing what they saw as the county commission's lack of communication and planning for major projects. They said that the commissions weren't using the group's expertise to inform decisions on projects such as upgrading buildings and expanding roads. So they're just going to take it in-house, and we don't need them.
Of course they are. Yeah,
that's what is it? Unnecessary or whatever they do when they shut the government down. The people that aren't necessarily need to be there.
Well, when you read something like this, it's sort of like, I think they have to talk more about how expensive this is. So we'll sort of announce it in pieces. We don't like we're going to announce it. We're going to think about it, and then we'll announce we've been discussing it, and then we're trying to announce the cost, and then the cost is because that's the shoe to drop, right?
Yeah,
that's always the shoe. Nobody is upset about what a city does. It's always what's it going to cost.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're going to develop a way to track progress on the projects they approve to ensure they move forward efficiently.
Exactly. There you go.
That's it. That's the answer right there. It's like the wildfires. They should get together with the wildfire guys and let's not build this road if we don't have to yet.
Well, and the thing about the wildfire thing, California incorporated a study too, and it was paid for both by the state and the federal government. And what they determined, these firemen that studied all this, 75 yards. If you're going to live in the wilderness, there's 75 yards around your property, no tall grass, no trees. Tile roof.
Yeah.
Not cedar shingles.
Yeah, not cedar shingles. It'll catch
metal siding.
Yeah.
No wood siding.
That should work.
Someone needs to look up the definition of common sense.
Yeah. Well, we got to take a quick break right now, so we'll be back right after these important words from Radio Shack and some other folks, so stay tuned. 13 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 64 degrees outside, looking for a high near 90 today. And we were talking about Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, Shane, earlier.
Yes.
And we, from our text line, we had somebody that said they knew the unintended consequences, and somebody else from our text line said, yeah, and don't shoot the messenger. So I don't know if that's us or those who pointed out the unintended circumstances or whatever, consequences.
Exactly.
Whatever they are. Well, let's see. In other local news, we've got a new fire in Yellowstone. Fire danger is now high for this time of year, of course. August, it's getting warmer. We're getting less rain than we normally do. Well, we don't get a lot of rain, I guess, in August. But anyway, new wildfire's been detected in Yellowstone National Park. And they announced in a news release that it's only burning a small amount right now. But the fire is within the area that last burned in 1988. And if you remember that fire, that was a pretty drastic fire that burned a lot of Yellowstone and it came back better than ever. So it's really it's really surprising. But we certainly don't want a repeat of 1988. I don't think because it took about 10 years for it to come back, like that. So. Officials also bumped fire dangers in the park to high. There's no fire restrictions at the moment, but campfires are allowed only in established fire rings at the campground and in some backcountry campsites. So if you are going to be out in the park and building fires or whatever, make sure they're out. Stir them and drench them and stir them and drench them again and all that. So make sure that they're definitely out. And let's see also Main Street, we're going to have the Bobcat Pride Friday parade here in Bozeman. They'll have the marching band, the cheer squad, and some athletes. It's the 10th annual Cat Walk. It'll start at 11 a.m. at First Interstate Bank on West Main, and the event comes as the university prepares for fall semester. Freshmen will move into their dorms Wednesday, and freshman convocation is Thursday, and the first day of class will be Monday. So back to school, guys. Everybody's going back to school. So
it'd be time.
Mm-hmm. It would be time for that, yeah. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Jeff Krauss will join us. Also coming up at 7 o'clock, we'll have some folks in here from the school bus, the transportation that gets all your little munchkins to school in the big yellow buses. So we'll chat with them coming up at the 7 o'clock hour. And if you'd like to get a job driving a school bus, we'll have all the info on that, the benefits or lack of, whichever. We'll be talking to them and see what's going on there. So, all right, we got to take another quick break, and we'll be right back with more right after this. So stay tuned. 6 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 64 degrees outside, and we're looking for a high of nearly 90 today. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing, on the line with me. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, and the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Regarding from our text line 478-8298, regarding your last texter yesterday who compared terrible Trump to outstanding Obama with that one example to wit, Steve-O says, I wish Democrats would follow those words of wisdom attributed to Will Rogers, never miss a good chance to shut up. So,
very good.
I don't know if Will actually said that, but if not, he should have. So I don't know. Yeah, that was in regards to somebody texted us that the British felt that he was, and they had a whole litany of problems with Trump. None of them with his policies, of course. They were all with his personality.
That's right.
That's the problem. So
personality of destruction.
That's it. So it's whatever personality is. It's there you are. I don't know. We don't elect saints, do we?
I just don't want anyone discussing yours or my personality. Okay,
that's true. That would be hard. Yeah, I don't know. That would be.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't have that. We don't have that gene.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Well, in other things newsworthy, hail. We had golf ball and baseball size hail, Shane, that killed 11,000 birds at the. They were at 70-mile-an-hour winds. So,
where's this?
This was at the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. It was in where was it? I'll find it here in a second.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the pelicans and other birds.
Ouch.
Central Montana lake and nesting area. And 70-mile-an-hour winds maimed more than 11,000 pelicans and other birds. And when it rolled over central Montana lake and nesting areas in the area, said the storm with 2-inch hailstones killed about 20 to 30% of the waterfowl at Big Lake Wildlife Management.
Ouch.
That's bad. Some birds with broken wings and other industries are not expected to survive. So they're trying their best to see if they can salvage whatever birds that remained alive. But most of them were headshots, obviously, that killed them. But when you think about 2-inch hail, I mean, that's a golf ball size hail at 70 miles an hour. I mean, that's a gunshot, pretty much. So,
absolutely.
I mean, that's gonna kill a human being pretty easily too, if it, if you're out in that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't think you'd survive that attack.
I'm gonna say you get smacked with that. So that was a sad situation. But anyway, wildlife officials will monitor the lake for possible disease caused by rotting carcasses. So that's another unintended consequence of this issue here, of course. So that also is not a good thing. Moving to the presidential race in the Democratic side, Bullock trying to find middle ground on guns because obviously being from a gun state, he's between a rock and a hard place as far as while the Democrats are all in for every gun law there is, Bullock is warning Democrats about going too far. So we don't want to go too far because my state, I need the votes here and support.
You think he'll run for Senate against Daines?
Daines? Well, Daines is going to run again, yeah.
No. Do you think Bullock will run against him?
Oh, for Senate?
Yeah.
Well, if he drops out of the presidential race, which most likely he will, it depends. He could certainly run for Senate against Daines, but he'd be the let's see. Trying to remember who they already have on that side. I'll have to.
Well, on his side, he's got whatever money he hasn't spent for running for president to use in his campaign. So
he'd have that.
Once again, here we go again.
Yeah. As long as we've got money, we can do anything we want, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, coming up at the 8 o'clock hour, Jeff Krauss will join us, three-time Mayor of Bozeman and current City Commissioner. And coming up at just a few minutes, we'll be talking with the Transportation Director of Bozeman School District, and we're going to be talking about the school bus issue. We got 7,000 kids going to just the high school, and then not to mention all the elementary schools. So we're going to find out more about school busing and driver education and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. And Shane and I will do more local stuff and 5 things you need to know. Maybe we'll get to that today. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes we get to it, sometimes we don't. But at any rate, we'll be back with more right after this. Thank you, Dan. Welcome back, everyone. 4 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 64 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of 89 degrees. Shane Matobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. And we're going to be talking with Doug Kellie, I guess, from let's see. You got a title here somewhere, I think.
Yeah, it should be there. First of all, good morning, Tom, and good morning, Shane.
Good morning, good sir.
Yeah, Transportation Director for Bozeman Public Schools.
That's it, Transportation Director. I knew it was on there somewhere. I just couldn't find it. But thanks for coming in because school's getting ready to start, obviously.
Yeah,
and,
September 3rd already.
Yeah, so we were reporting on it a little bit this morning. We got 7,000 kids K through 12, and then another 3,000 or 4,000 at the high school.
Yeah,
and
exactly. We got 7,200 kids K through 12 in the district, and 3,200 bus students.
Yeah.
And if you making those numbers sound a little bit more real, that's the population as far as the K through 12 population of Laurel or only 400 shy of the population of Livingston.
wow.
Yeah, and then as far as our bus students that are registered, 3,200, that's nearly the population of Glasgow or Cutbank or Sydney. So we transport a lot of students 5 and 6 days a week.
Yeah. How far do you go? I know obviously Belgrade has a high school and
Correct.
But do you go to Churchill and that area, Amsterdam?
Yeah, kind of in that area. We go as far south as I can't think of the name of it right offhand. About 20 or 25 miles south.
Okay.
We've got a very, very large district that we take care
I know. It's huge.
So Galton Gateway, about a little further south than that, transport a lot of kids.
Yeah. Okay. So you're out there. You're picking them up at probably 7?
Yeah, we've got some students that get on the bus before 7 a.m. in the morning, and then depending if they ride at night, could get home sometime after 5 o'clock.
Wow.
So it's got some kids that
not a lot of time for homework and
right.
get to bed.
Spend a lot of
You gotta
time
get
on the
up
bus.
I know the drill.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, obviously you need school bus drivers.
We sure do. Our contractor First Student has done a fantastic job in recruiting new people for the upcoming year, but we're still looking for school bus drivers and school bus attendants as well.
Yeah. Well, what about training for a school bus driver? How long does it take, or is there do you get a certificate or something? I guess probably you get some kind of affidavit that protects you legally that this person's qualified to drive this bus. And
typically a school bus driver would go through about 40 hours of training. On the road and classroom, a combination of both. We've got some fantastic people out there. I can't say enough about our drivers and attendants. They do a great job every year. But we're looking for good solid people in the community that would like to be school bus drivers and or attendants and be part of the community.
Yeah. I was going to say, if they're picking kids up at 7 o'clock, then they got to be at the bus barn by 6 probably, or thereabouts, or somewhere in that.
If a bus leaves at 7 o'clock, the drivers are normally in there about 6:45. There's a pre-trip inspection that's excuse me, that's involved, and it's a great job. It really is. I've been in busing for 40 years, and so and there's nothing else I'd rather do but be involved with school buses.
Now, do they have to rather than just a driver's license? Do they need commercial driver's
Yeah,
license.
it's a Class B commercial license with air brake
They get
endorsement.
that with the 40 hours of training?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
See, a combination of classroom and on the wheel or behind the wheel training, I should
Right,
say.
okay.
And it really sets you up well to handle that 40-foot vehicle with anywhere between 35 and 70 kids on the bus.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the things I always wonder about in today's age. I guess in days gone by, school bus drivers could discipline kids, but I don't think you can do that anymore.
Within certain
reason, or
within certain parameters,
Yeah.
absolutely. We've got a very good student management policy that outlines correctional behavior, K through 12. But it's all part of the program.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Transportation Director Doug Kellie with the school bus situation here in Bozeman. I guess that we got to transport about 300 or 3,000 kids around back and forth.
Absolutely.
So it's going to entail a lot of people to come and do this. What is what does being a school bus driver pay these days?
Starting wage for a driver, I want to say, and for anybody that would like to get further information, they can contact our contractor, First Student, at 556-8039. But I want to say the starting pay per hour right now is close to that $18 an hour.
What was that number again?
556-8039.
8039. Yeah, I want to make sure we get that out to folks that
absolutely.
and want to apply.
Yeah, and there's a minimum guarantee of 4 hours a day.
Okay.
Say roughly 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. It's a great part-time job. I'd say especially for a stay-at-home mom or dad. First Student with the district, allows you to bring your child on the bus with you, so you don't have to pay for babysitting.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah.
We've got some people out there that have been associated with the district for 10, 15, 20 years.
Wow.
And so we got some great people out there.
Yeah. How many bus routes do you have?
Currently we have 40 regular routes and 7 special needs routes.
Okay. So we got to have 47 drivers at any point in time, I
That's
guess.
correct. We've got 47 buses that have got to be running 5 days a week.
Yeah. And we don't have many snow days, do we?
No, we don't. And Tom, as well as anybody, the last couple of winters have been
pretty
brutal.
tough. Yeah.
But our contractor,
February particularly.
Oh, yes. Our contractor, in association with the shop and my shop foreman out there, Mike Sample, they do a great job in keeping the buses up and running. We run mainly propane buses on the route.
Right.
And those propane buses do a fantastic job. They heat up very, very, very well in the wintertime. Great fleet out there.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough about the.
I was going to ask you about gas mileage or things like that, but if you're propane, you just that's got to be way less expensive.
It is
than
less
gasoline.
expensive,
Yeah.
absolutely, and they run very, very quiet. They're just a great service vehicle.
Yeah. You're thinking diesel or something like that
Yeah.
to pull a 40-foot bus.
Yeah,
or something like that. But,
there are diesel buses out there mainly
Yeah.
for the longer activity trips.
right. Yeah.
But mainly for the home to school routes, it's all mainly propane.
Yeah. All right. So we've got a lot of kids, obviously, that we have to serve here in the 40 some routes that you guys do, 47, I guess. What about one of the things, I guess, we see it all the time. I think everybody listening to us has seen somebody go flying past the school bus when the stop thing is out there, and they just don't.
Sad but
either
true.
it doesn't register with them, or they pull around a bus or pass a bus, or whatever. It's
I've seen
sad.
in my 40 years, I've seen some very scary situations out there. It's typically when you see a stop bus, or even with the yellow lights flashing, prepare to stop.
Yeah.
When in doubt, just stop.
Yeah.
It can be up to a $500 fine
Wow.
for passing a school bus, and also, depending on the severity of it, it also could be considered reckless driving.
Yeah.
And so it's a very serious thing that we deal with every year.
Yeah.
And most of the traffic that we deal with here in Bozeman and outside of town, they do a great job in being respectful of the bus and giving our kids a break and making sure they're getting on and off the bus safely. but it's a continuing problem.
Yeah. Yeah, even divided highways. Sometimes people feel if I'm on the other side here, it's a divided highway. I don't need to stop. So
if there's a physical barrier between the lanes, then you don't have to stop.
Okay.
But if it's just a simple line on the pavement between the north and southbound, you have to stop. When in doubt, just stop for that yellow bus.
Yeah.
It's a problem that we have. Thankfully, not as much here as in other areas. But it's still an issue that the drivers deal with every day.
Yeah. So it's got to be it's certainly, safety is the issue that we have to think about with the kids.
Safety of our kids, number one, absolutely.
All right, we're gonna take a short break here. When I come back, we'll talk about seatbelts.
Fantastic.
We'll do that. Shane is on the line with us. They've got seatbelts in Canada, right?
They do indeed.
Mandatory in some places. Are they mandatory everywhere, or is it just in cities?
No, it's province by province.
Okay, so some have it and some don't then.
Correcto.
All right. We'll be right back right after this. 17 minutes after the hour, it's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 64 degrees outside. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing, in Vancouver, British Columbia, just hanging out with us today and every day.
Yeah. Well, I have some bus context if you'd like.
Some bus context. Go for it, man.
Okay, well, the important thing about the bus was 1892, Indiana-based Wayne Works produced the first school car, as it was called, essentially a repurposed farm wagon with additional interior seats. Then in 1912, Studebaker truck was adapted as a school bus for the inner city, but towed by horses or mules. And interestingly enough, the expression that we hear about, and how many you may ask, 480,000 school buses at work in the United States, transporting 25 million students. A typical school bus carries 54 children. And of course, the important thing about this is the word kid hack. Kid hack was the expression used for the original 1912 Studebaker because the kids would enter from the back end of the bus to avoid disturbing the animals at the front. And the word hack is a meaning of a horse-drawn cab, and is short for a hackney carriage.
Yeah.
In England, hack is a small car for the original cab, and of course, the interesting aspect of that, of course, is that a hack in England was sort of a reference to a low-paying job, and if you wanted a more expensive hackney in England, it was called a remise. That was the original name for a limo, which we have in North America. Bluebird Corporation is the major producer of buses. They have 2,160 workers. Revenue is $932 million a year, and they serve most of the world and provide buses for everyone. Founded in 1932. But in Fort Valley, Georgia, by Albert L. Lucy Sr., who was a Ford car seller and came up with the concept of building a bus for kids.
Well, all right. There you go.
And Shane, if I may add to that, I believe the Bluebird insignia was his wife's idea.
That's correct. Very good.
There you are. See? We're getting this. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Doug Kellie, who's the transportation director for the school district here in Bozeman. And they became yellow in 1974. And,
they standardized it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They were different colors, but they finally...
I think it started out with red
at
one time, and then white also, and they went to a standard school bus yellow, which is highly visible when you're out on the road.
Well, particularly at dawn and dusk.
Absolutely.
It's more visible then. And we pick up yellow peripherally 1.24 times faster than red.
There you go.
Which is the next one.
Yep.
So we looked all this stuff up here before you came in. So
good stuff.
We're all over the school bus issue for you. So Yeah. Once again, if you'd like to get information about being a driver, 556-8039 is the number, 8039, 556-8039.
Correct.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, if you talk to the manager out there, Nolan Marash, great guy, and they'd be more than happy to walk you through the program and tell you what the driving world's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would I would assume you're doing your training between morning and afternoon drive time.
Correct.
For
Yes.
the buses,
Yes.
that you're out there training a couple hours a day or
Right.
hour a day or something like that as you go through the 40 hours,
Yes.
and then you obviously would qualify for your commercial driver's license.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty extensive program and class.
I would think so.
It
yeah.
takes a person and pretty much teaches them how to drive all over again.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing like driving a passenger car or pickup.
Yeah, if you're making a turn, you go into the middle of the intersection before you just don't turn on a dime.
Correct.
You know, you got to account for that other. You got 40 feet behind
Yes.
you that you can't run into cars, or you got to hit the road as it is. So
These are
sort of like farm driving with hay
Sure.
stuff and stuff like that.
These are highly skilled drivers out there.
Yeah, good. And of course, obviously, we drive on all types of weather. Icy roads, whatever.
Well, I tell you, Tom, I would rather be in that yellow bus on the snow and ice than I would my 4-wheel drive pickup.
Yeah.
And the Bluebird buses that our contractor First Student runs, they also have the on-spot chains. You push a button and the chains drop down in front of the tire. Fantastic safety equipment.
And go on, they go on automatically. You just obviously got to hook them up. I guess.
You push a button to engage them, and then when you get through that icy patch, push a button and then they retract automatically.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fantastic safety item.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, also we wanted to ask about seat belts for kids, because a lot of people, the drivers are belted in, of course.
Correct.
There's a couple schools of thought. One is that if they put seat belts in new buses, eventually, as the old buses will fade out, everyone would have a seatbelt by, maybe in a number of years as the old buses are retired and the new ones come in. To outfit all of them, it would be several $1 million, obviously, to do that. Who's going to pay that?
Yeah, and it was just a year ago when all the buses were installed with seat belts. It was a retrofit. The district being very proactive and saying, to help keep our kids safe, let's do this additional measure. Let's take this additional step and require belts in all the buses. I got to be honest with you, Tom and Shane. For years, I was not an advocate for seat belts, but times change.
Yeah,
we are no longer many times the largest vehicle on the road, and taking that extra step for the safety of our kids was the right measure to take.
Yeah.
And the kids do a great job. They do a great job. They help each other with belting in. It's a little bit of a learning curve, having the drivers make sure that all their kids are belted in, but it's that additional safety measure that the district has taken and working with our contractor to provide a much more safe ride for our students.
Yeah. Yeah. The one of the thoughts was that the seats are close enough together that they act as sort of a cushion, but not the best.
Yeah, that's called.
That's fine unless you turn over on your side.
That's called compartmentalization.
Right.
And it would work best for a front end crash, but not necessarily for a side or a rear impact.
Right.
And the 3-point harness that we have for the belts is great. These kids get in, they're belted in, we know they're safe, and down the road we go.
Yeah. Well, that probably also prevents another thing. We don't see it very often, but every once in a while, a couple of kids will start beating on each other in a bus, and maybe the seatbelt situation will keep them belted in.
Right. All of the buses are camera equipped.
Okay.
And to date, I have not seen that happen.
Yeah. I don't know that it happens too much here. Mostly it's in urban areas that we see it on TV. because everybody's got a cell phone camera now, of course.
Right. There are plenty of horror stories out there.
Oh, yeah.
But, Bozeman, in a large respect, is still a small town.
Yeah. And I think I think many of the parents here are responsible parents and teach their kids that, there's better ways to solve your problems. And
when we had the seatbelt, the final installation done, and the response I got back from parents, I want to say it probably ran 30, 40 to 1 as far as parents thankful for taking this extra measure.
Sure.
Very,
it's not
very
cheap to do. But,
no. But we have great support from our parents, and they were very appreciative.
I would think so. I would, if I had school-age kids, I'd feel better if they were belted in.
Well,
if they were flying around the interior of the bus.
Well, and it takes that additional step where they get in their passenger car, they're belted in.
Yeah,
it's just automatic.
It's a common
right.
You don't even think about it.
Yeah, so they get on the bus, they take their seat, they're belted in, and our drivers do a great job making sure that is done anytime that child's on the bus.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the critical thing, I guess, is keeping them safe. And
absolutely.
That's the whole
safety.
The
safety
whole
is
thing.
number one.
So there.
And the other important thing too about it is kids tend to get up and roam around, so seatbelts keep them in their seats so they don't roam around while you're driving.
The student management issues are greatly reduced. Not that we've had a lot in the past, but it's even more so as far as a reduction. Kids get in, they take their seat, they sit down, they're belted in. It's been a big help.
Yeah, I would think so. So, yeah, just for not only safety but just keeping order in the bus. Correct. And whatever would add to that, so they understand where they are. So, we've covered quite a bit here today. We got about a minute left here before we got to get out of here. But
I just want to thank also the community for watching out for us. 2 and 3 times a day. Yeah. And once again, when you see a bus with its yellows or reds flashing, just be prepared to stop and watch out for our kids.
Yeah, because that's very important. And again, if you'd like more information on being a driver, 556-8039, 556-8039, and they'll give you all the particulars of it. And, as you pointed out, if you're a stay-at-home mom or whatever, and you got little kids, you can bring them on the bus with you. And
also our retirement community. If you're looking for a job to give back to the community, give First Student a call.
Yeah, not an overly physical job, I guess. More than driving your own car.
Correct.
You just are driving 40-foot long vehicles. All
there are some physical requirements involved, but our contractor First Student will show you what it's all about.
All right. Doug Kellie, thanks very much for being here, Transportation Director of the Bozeman School District. Pleasure meeting you, and we hope some folks will call up and get that driver training.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Shane.
All right.
Thank you. Welcome to the house.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, that does it for this half hour. Coming up the 8 o'clock hour, Jeff Krauss will join us, and Shane and I will try and get through the 5 things you need to know right after this. We'll see if that works out or not. We'll be right back. 23 minutes before the top of the hour, Jeff Krauss will join us at 8 o'clock. Thanks to Doug Kellie for coming in, Transportation Director of the Bozeman School District, to talk busing with us, and a lot of important information there that I wasn't aware that we had seatbelts on our buses, but obviously we do. So
there you go.
There you are. So pretty nice. Yeah. So kids are a little safer traveling back and forth to school, and we got 7,000 kids we got to transport around this fall, so in a few days. Exactly. And again, if you want to be a school bus driver or want to find out what's involved in becoming a school bus driver, give them a call at 556-8039, 556-8039, and they'll be happy to fill you in on all the things you got to do, and should be a great job. Pays pretty well, too, so happy to contribute that to the area. Well, 5 things you need to know, Shane. The White House, they are thinking about pushing for a payroll tax cut to bolster consumer spending. Currently, the brightest spot in an economy showing other signs of economic malaise. Multiple officials said that The White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow is also reportedly advocating a capital gains tax cut. So either one of those two would be helpful, I think, to folks. So,
well, that's right. The only problem that you have, of course, with the capital or the employers withholding taxes, that first of all, half of it's paid by the employees, half by the employer.
Yeah.
But it's they're basically Social Security and Medicare taxes. So that's that becomes one of those third rail issues, in your country as well, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I've never wherever I've worked, I've never felt that I paid half of the tax. The employer paid it all, and gave me a slip at the end of the year that said, "Here's what you paid." I didn't pay that. The employer paid it. I didn't write him a check at the end of every month and say, "Here's my half of the, Social Security, my 6.2, and here's my tax thing," and so that's why we don't take home our full paycheck, because we wouldn't be able to write a check at the end of the year back to the employer.
That's right.
So,
and the interesting thing, it started in 1937 under the FDR administration, and it's one of those taxes that just has grown and grown. It started out at like 3%, and as I said, it's now like 16%. But it's not as bad as some places in the world.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, if you go to Denmark or Finland or one of those places over there. Well, Finland, didn't they just go bankrupt or almost bankrupt recently?
That's right.
Yeah. All the free stuff they have over there, they just couldn't handle it, and I think their government fell apart and whatever. I don't know.
That's right. And I'm looking at the countries, and it's anywhere from literally 20 to 45%. I mean, it's there are a lot of countries out there that whack their citizens. Everybody thinks it's we have it bad here. No, we belong to the two greatest country clubs in the world.
Yes, we do. All right. Well, in other news of the 5 things you need to know, Planned Parenthood leaves the federal family planning program over the abortion rule. They claim that, we don't do that. Well, yes they do. Rather than go along with the Trump administration's new restrictions on abortion counseling, counseling says, hey, there's alternatives to abortion. You can adopt or, other things. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment because I'm sure you probably agree, but since Roe versus Wade, if we took a moment every day to pray for a child that was aborted, we'd be praying for 100 years.
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
All day long.
Yep.
All day long.
All day long. Just a minute.
It would take you 100 years to pray for all the children that have been taken. Very sad. Very sad.
It really is. Well, Planned Parenthood announced on Monday it's leaving Title X, the federal family planning program. The Department of Health and Human Services issued the new rule earlier this year saying that health care providers who receive Title X funds cannot refer their patients to doctors who perform abortions. Planned Parenthood, which receives about $60 million annually through Title X, offers health care to 1.5 million low-income women every year. And Planned Parenthood, the American Medical Association, and other groups say this new restriction is unethical as it denies women options and withholds medical information from patients. And, well, what can I say?
Well, we should talk to the law babe on Friday about this because there was an interesting decision by the Supreme Court, or non-decision by the Supreme Court, because Planned Parenthood had, taken this to the court and asked for an immediate decision on it. And they said, well, looking at the guidelines under, this Title 10, they're within their guideline. They're within the guidelines to cancel it. So
they did.
We'd be interested. We should ask her and see what she thinks of that.
Okay. We got to take a break right now. Let's do that, and we'll be right back with more right after this. 13 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. 68 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of almost a 90 today. So we'll see if we make it to that. And Shane and I right now are doing the 5 things you need to know. And Well, the Pentagon tests a missile previously banned under U.S.-Russia treaty, and they both got out of the treaty on August 2nd because each one accused the other of not abiding by the treaty. So we're all testing nuclear weapons again. Are we back in the Cold War?
Well, it would appear so. It's a remarkable reality to understand what's involved in the context. I think the concern that the Russians have is the U.S. involvement in Europe under NATO, of course. But, what they're talking about here is Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. And, of course, in that regard, the big one for the Americans is the Tomahawk.
Yep.
A land attack missile. And, the United States just purchased 149 Tomahawk Block 4 missiles for $203 million. That's a nice little toy for $1 million, $1.5 million each.
Yeah.
But these are a remarkable piece of equipment because not only can they fly silently, but they know exactly where they're going because of GPS and can be pinpointed through a window of a building.
Wow. All right. Now we're talking.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Saddam Hussein was pretty amazed we had smart bombs. I was watching on CNN saying, whoa, I didn't know they had that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
From our text,
go ahead.
From our text line, 478-8298, God put us all here on earth so we can help Democrats like Margaret Sanger see the light. Why the Democrats are here on earth is anyone's guess. Maybe the Democrats are here to teach conservatives patience and self-control. That might be it. Let's see.
Margaret Sanger, of course, the founder of Planned Parenthood and the first eugenicist that wanted specifically to use Planned Parenthood to, guess what, eradicate African-American people. Wow.
And it's working pretty well in New York and some other cities. So. Yeah. Let's see, from our text line, 478-8298, just cut taxes to zero. Who cares about the debt? Problem for our kids to pay. This is why the tax cut in 2017 was stupid. It burned a tool to stimulate a weak economy. Why tax cuts during a boom were pure greed and irresponsible. So, well, if you like paying more taxes, then I would go after Bernie or Elizabeth Warren or any of the Democrats are going to make sure that tax cut is gone. So if you're, if you want to pay more, by all means, when you step in the ballot box, you know what to do. So.
Well, and as we've talked about in this, I just want to mention this because it's been in the news so much, and we want to remind people. The largest employer in the United States is private sector, 125 million people, and the 180 million working in your country. But the point is that these are people that work for companies with less than 500 employees, and their taxes were 35%. So, the biggest part of what your president did was reduce small companies, not large, small companies' taxes, to 15%. Yeah. And, they accuse, a lot of the left says, oh, no one's noticed this, no one's seen it. Yes, you have. Those companies now can plan, expand, build even a second or third store now. And that was the key to it, expansion.
All right. We got to take another quick break. We'll be right back right after these important words. Stay tuned. 7 minutes for the top of the hour. Jeff Krauss will join us at 8 o'clock. And from our app chat line, Shane, you can get the app chat very easily. Just go to your AM 1450 KMMS smartphone, and right next to the listen button is the app chat button. And from our app chat, morning, Tom, I'd like to mention the criteria for a bus driver CDL drug test. Well, you got to have a CDL and a drug test, background check, work 6 to 9 and 2 to 5 at 6 hours a day, most precious cargo in the world. Now, the average pay for a CDL, and that would be an over-the-road truck driver, I guess, around $250 a day plus benefits. So when the school district starts paying decent wages, $250 a day plus bennies, until they do that, they won't get a lot of applications. One suggestion, get teachers CDLs, let them drive kids to school. They have already passed the drug test and the background check. So, well, what the pay is what the market will bear, I guess. Jeff Krauss is in the house with us. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I have to disagree with you. I never felt that my employer paid Social Security and Medicare. I always felt like the whole thing came from me.
Came from you?
Yeah, because that's 17%. Or back in the old days, I think it was 5.8. I remember that number a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that was half, right?
Yeah, the 6.2 is Social Security, I think.
Yeah, well, it was 5.8 was too, but you know, and I think it was 3 something or 4 something when I first started working. But anyway, I always felt like that would have gotten paid to me, or most of that would have been paid to me had it not been paid. And you know where that hurts is it hurts people starting out. It hurts low wage workers. And then, of course, it's a huge transfer payment from the low wage worker to the wealthiest segment of our society, which is senior citizens, of course. Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm doing the Democratic non-clapping thing.
Wave, that's the wave. That's
the jazz hands.
I got the jazz hands going here.
That's right.
Can't applaud on the radio. So.
That's right. Yeah, I love it.
From our text line 478-8298, nobody wants to pay taxes or rent or mortgages or insurance, but borrowing to pay bills is not fiscally responsible. We should pay for what we spend, reduce spending and balance the budget, and cut taxes that are surplus from small government, like you would do in a business or a household. This borrowing to run a government is immoral. Well, the only question I would have for you, which programs do you want to cut? And are you ready for the backlash of those people who are getting that program to come after you? Because they will.
Well, you know, Alan Simpson and his counterpart on the Democratic side had a plan.
Simpson
Bowles. And everybody's like, yeah, Simpson Bowles, we're going to do that. And as soon as Simpson Bowles came out with a plan, we're not doing that. You know?
Well,
so that was the end of that.
Well, what about the sequester? You know, Congress has to cut by a certain amount, or otherwise the borrowing goes up, and Congress couldn't do it, so we're stuck with the sequester. And that's one reason.
Absolutely.
That's one reason why Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador are in such trouble, because we had to pull out of there because we couldn't afford to stay there. So,
I would tell you that we can't afford to stay everywhere we are in the world.
I know, that's true too.
I mean, all of the bases, the military bases, you know, Fort Assiniboine up there, and you know, and those kinds of bases. You know, we at some point you do run out of other people's money. Thank you, Margaret Thatcher. It's a fact. And you know, one of these days when we sell Yosemite and Yellowstone to the Chinese in return for our debt, we'll have realized that sustainability applies to government too. You can't be you can't say, oh, global warming, we need to be sustainable and run $1 trillion in debt. Okay, $1 trillion in debt is not a sustainable thing. Okay, and I see very few people who are coherent in their conservative philosophy of sustainability, right? You know, back in the day, what were you taught in the Boy Scouts, right? Leave nothing but a footprint, right? Take nothing but a photograph. Those kinds of things have not translated well for the boomers of our society as we've consumed our way into old age. And now we're here going, don't touch my Social Security, dagnabbit, you know, and or
my Medicare, or my Medicaid.
Or anything. And they have a point, and we have a point. You know, we paid in all these years. We're I think, really the first generation to have paid in the entire time. But
I am.
But
I'm one.
But I think the answer has to be entitlements, defense spending. You know, means test entitlements, for Pete's sake.
But we've got 126 poverty programs. Are you going to tell me those programs don't overlap, or some of them couldn't be consolidated? I mean, we've never had less than 100 in the past 10 years.
What do you mean? Look how they're working so well
I know,
in
that's
L.A.
What I'm saying.
Right? They're just killing it in L.A.
I get a hammer, Jeff. Come on, it's my turn to hammer, Jeff. Okay. I can assure you, Jeff, that the Federal Reserve has got dry powder. You know, they acquired $4.5 trillion in debt since quantum easing started in 2009, of which they've now sold $1.7 trillion back to people coming to the U.S. They've sold back to buyers of U.S. debt. So the 1.1 trillion that the Chinese have is an easy grab for the Federal Reserve. Not a problem. We don't need to worry about it.
We're not going to have to sell Canada?
No, you don't have to sell anything. The Federal Reserve will pick that up in a snap.
Actually, I'm ready to buy Greenland. I don't know
me too. What a good idea.
I don't know what the holdup there is.
And what was New York Times saying? Alaska was a bad deal?
Yeah.
That is idiotic right there. Alaska was a darn good deal. It was not Seward's folly.
We sure came out on the long end of the stick on that one.
We did, yeah.
Oh,
all right, we got to go. All right, Jeff Krauss is in the house. Shane Matavin with me, Tom Eaglehop. We'll be back with Jeff and whatever crazy stuff the City Commission did last night right after this. Stay tuned. Thank you, Dan. Welcome back, everyone. 6 minutes after the hour, Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, 69 degrees outside. Looking for a high near 90 today, and Shane Matavin on the line with me, half man, half amazing, and Tom Eaglehop, your morning mayor, and the real mayor, three-time mayor Bozeman, and current city commissioner Jeff Krauss joins us. And glad to have you here every Tuesday to let us know what's going on with the city and what stupid things you've done.
All right. Well, before we get to the Jeff Krauss list, okay?
Yeah, right.
It's time for the Jeff Krauss discussion.
Ooh,
rant.
All right. The rant.
And so, first of all, the people, we discussed rates. So we discussed garbage collection rates. We discussed water rates. We raised water rates. And during the discussion of water rates, a phrase was used that we should use the carrot and the stick. And, of course, this is to force people to conserve the water and not water vegetables or to not throw away garbage. That's why you put yourself on the sidewalk, right? So let someone else all off. So because you're recycling.
That's it,
right? The reuse, reduce, recycle. Well, that's good. I don't want to drive all the way to Logan. Yeah.
Just put it in the ditch. And somebody will get it out of there. Somebody will fish it out.
Right at the end of the road. But this phrase, carrot and the stick, and it was used several times, and I thought, well, that actually isn't, if you're a person that's been elected to higher office and you want to beat your constituents with a stick, you are not in the business of public service. You're in the business of being a ruler. You want to be the grand poobah. You want to be the emperor of the North.
You want to be that nun smacking you on the Merkles.
Right. This idea, I think it would be wise to abandon the idea that you want to beat your constituents with a stick.
Right.
Right? This came up during the issue of water. Mm-hmm. And what is very interesting about the current commission and the previous commission that essentially ever since I briefly had a majority, is that while we buy agrarian water rights and we accept agrarian water rights, remember what that is doing is that's drying up the agriculture out there to feed a thirsty city. Okay, that is not creating new sources of water. That is not new storage of water, storage of spring runoff. That's not helping us overall. And what we are doing is we are saying the way we supply water to new development is we make everyone else use less water. That is the plan. Mm-hmm. So we are making grandma downtown dry up her beautiful trees and kill her rose bushes in the old part of town so that we can add another 1,000 units on the edge of town. That is the philosophy of today, of several current commissions over the years. And you can see it in the dead weeping birches all over town, which require a lot of water. And the newest, and now they've recognized over the last couple of years that they are in a pickle, right? I've lived here since 1975, off and on, and we have approached drought or drought restrictions, some minor ones, but we've never really had a drought here in America's Egypt. That's what they call this part of the valley, a place that used to be covered with beaver ponds, right? We have a lot of water. We're known for having water in years that other parts of Montana don't have. And we sit at the headwaters of the Missouri. We used to have Mystic Lake up there, which had water storage, which we tore out in 1983. We can develop water supplies. We could even go into the Yellowstone Basin. We could bring water back from the Missouri because the Jefferson and the Madison are different kinds of water basins. None of those things we're pursuing, in fact. What we're doing now is we have planned for when we cannot provide you in a dry year. It could happen that we could not provide you the water that you expect. It could actually happen. They call that drought planning. What that is actually failure planning.
Yeah.
Remember, we have a utility, right? And and we're not concerned about you getting the water you need. What we are concerned about is protecting the utility. So we're not planning to have enough water to sell you when you need it. But if we can't sell you the water you need when you need it, we'll start to lose money, okay? Because we won't have the product. We won't be able to sell it to you. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to put a surcharge. We are going to charge you more for water for the little bit of water we can sell you, a tariff. We're going to charge you more. We're going to call this planning, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
This is planning, right? Well, if we don't have the water we need to sell you, not because you need it, because we need to keep the utility going, we're going to have to raise rates. And so last night we raised rates for a drought reserve. Remember, that's not a water reserve. A water reserve would be to keep water aside so in a drought we'd have water to sell you. No, this is a money reserve to keep the utility going. Yeah. And then if we can't sell you the water you need, we're going to raise the rates so that you have to pay more for the little bit of water we do send you. Yeah. How the heck does that make sense? Well, it only makes sense if you don't have any competition, right? Yeah. It only makes sense if you're the only water supplier. And so
So we need another water supplier.
And so what we'll do if there's a drought is we'll beat you with a stick.
Right.
That ends the rant.
Sounds good. What was the vote on this?
That was 4-1. Yes, it was.
I can't believe it. 4-1. What a surprise. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you on the air with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
Hi, it's Gay.
Hi, Gay.
I love how the city charges, a small fortune for water and then forces you to water boulevards, which is, very inefficient. You could put a little gravel down, and it would be fine for people to get in and out of their cars. They make you water the most inefficient place, but I'm going to get even with them. I'm going to stop watering my grass so I can just have this brown, ugly crap out in front of my house.
They are? Yeah.
I'll water my garden in my backyard that I eat out of, but I'm not watering the city's grass. They can kiss my hind end. Have a good day.
There you are. All right.
So that works some places, but in newer parts of town, you're a member of a homeowner association.
And they'll tell you to
and
water.
They will come by and give you a $200 ticket if you don't cut your grass.
Yeah.
And if you don't water your grass.
Yeah. Dead lawns all over town are going to look great. Nice job.
So
from our text line.
And I point this out over and again. When I moved here in the 70s, Bozeman was covered with these beautiful weeping birches. Yeah. They were, the weeping birch, golden with the white trunk and the black highlights that were up and down Wilson and the old part of town were gorgeous. They all died. We didn't like watering them. You cannot water a weeping birch just with the water used to keep grass green. You have to deep water it. And now I just wanted to add one thing. Yes, they all admitted, yes, we haven't had one of the, Jeff's right. We haven't had a drought and this drought planning and blah, blah, blah. But global warming means that inevitably we're going to have a drought. So we have to plan to charge you more money to keep our utility alive because global warming. Just want you to know. They threw that in as well.
All right. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you on with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
Good morning, you fine gentlemen. It's Steve.
Hey, Steve.
So I think it's no small bit of irony that Jeff is talking about this morning. I don't know if you gentlemen listened to Voices of Montana yesterday, but they had the director of the PSC on, and he made an argument that said, in Montana, it is much, much, much better to have a monopoly for our power than it is to have competition. And I'm hearing a direct correlation to the water conversation, to the power that we heard on the radio yesterday.
Yeah.
And it just drives me, I don't want to curse, it drives me crazy. Right. And I cannot wrap my mind around how any human being in the country of America can think that, oh no, just one source is the best way. It must be government thinking. And I appreciate you for pointing that out, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's all about calling comments and say that monopolies are not better for the people.
Yeah, think health care.
Yeah.
All right.
Just wait till the people that think that if they run out of water, they got to charge you more, get in charge of your health care. Just got to be there.
Keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take another call. 522 Talk is the number. Caller, you on the air. What's going on?
Well, there's two beautiful weeping birch in there right in front of Bozeman High School on Main Street. Mm-hmm. So they obviously have the freaking money, or they just don't care because somebody will pay it. Why don't we do this? Every time we want to raise rates, let's raise it more on the rich people. I mean, Jeff wants nothing but rich people here, so let's just start taxing them, and then maybe the poor people could actually stay a little longer.
South Wilson should have much higher water rates.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the call.
Thank you for the call. The previous caller talked about monopolies.
Yeah.
We don't have a monopoly on garbage collection,
That's
right?
True.
We have there, and we should all be grateful for that because the discussion was very different. We're not going to collect your garbage but once a month because there's a garbage drought.
Right.
But we're going to charge you 10 times as much because we have to. No, nobody went there because if they don't pick up your garbage, you can just call the private company and say, hey, come pick up my garbage. When everybody does that, then they don't have a utility. Imagine that.
There you go. Let's take another call. Caller, you're on with Jeff Krauss. What's up? Hello.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, I've got a question to Jeff Krauss there.
Sure.
I'm here.
With the city council raising our property taxes, and it seems like that's the magnet to our wallet of you guys wanting extra dollars for whatever parks, roads. I think it would be best to do an anti-levy and give you guys a cost cut for your payroll and put us down to, what do you guys make a year? 180, 250,000 a year?
No,
we do not make $180,000, $250,000 a year.
No, they don't.
We make. I think I get $1,300 a month, though. Yeah.
Well, I still think that city council should get down to about the deplorable payroll range, and 40,000, 60,000 a year would probably be a good start for you guys for all of the inept problems that you guys create.
That would be a huge pay increase, right? Nobody makes more than $23,000 a year, I don't think.
No.
Right? That's the mayor, I think.
I just don't believe that.
Yeah, well,
what about all
I can show you my tax return,
What about all the lobbying money that you make, too, for these lobbyists?
Yeah. Well, city does have some lobbyists that they send up to Helena, do they not? Not a permanent
contract lobbyist.
Yeah, you contract them as you need them. Yeah.
We did that when I was the county treasurer. The Treasurer Association did that.
About John Tester buying, a couple $1 million mansion in D.C. Where did he get that money on the payroll of, you're saying you're making $1,300 a year or a month?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm making $1,300 a year.
Yeah. Well, let's look at John Tester. He never shows up to the Senate hearings, and he's 76-80% absent for hearings and rulings or whatnot for his vote. Our community is going to turn into California if we keep keeping these Democrats that have a hidden agenda to destroy the United States. It's all about get Trump. It's not about get United States great again. It's about bringing illegal aliens in, letting needles everywhere. When is it going to stop?
Yeah.
And you guys just keep supporting it. And I'm saying, you guys, you're all wannabe Democrats.
All right. Thanks for the call. I got to go.
No, I'm not done yet. That's
okay. Well, hurry up
topic.
because I got to take a break. Go for it.
No. Well, I think the next thing is we need to get rid of the Democrats. We need to get rid of Nancy Pelosi for starters, and John Tester. All he does is follow the witch brew.
Well, we have term limits every 6 years.
Well, we don't have term limits for the right people. We've got
that's the voter issue there.
Yeah. Well, if you put it in for a vote, you've got these anti-Americans, the squad group that knock it down and then turn it into a crisis, and just want to weaponize Congress to go after Israel. Yeah. That is stupid.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Thanks for your viewpoint. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You got to turn the mics on in order for it to function, right?
Works better.
Yeah, it works better.
Also, turn them off during the breaks. Right?
Yeah, that works well too. Well, I haven't done that for a while. Let's go to the phone. Shane's been interrogating a caller. So, caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Well, I have a question for Jeff.
Yeah.
Does the city get a bonus for dumping hydrofluorosilicic acid through the kidneys of its ratepayers? Because that's a byproduct of the nuclear power industry that they would have a hard time disposing of. That's why it has a skull and crossbone on the bag.
Yeah, water can kill you. It's so true. People die from water every year. They do.
Yeah, they do.
You understand the caller is making a comment about fluoride in the water. Mm-hmm. And we had a discussion about that several years ago.
Right, but that was back when they used to put sodium fluoride in the water. Now they put hydrofluorosilicic acid at both water plants.
Okay.
Adios.
Okay. Right.
Okay. I have a question. I have a question for the Jeff.
Yeah.
For the Jeff.
The Jeff. All right. I like that.
Okay.
Yes, the Shane.
So you were talking about how the council does planning, in reference to water and so forth.
Yeah.
So how does the council plan for its storing of salt for the winter to sprinkle on roads? Like, do you annually continually buy salt? Do you have a budget for salt? Well, the reason I ask is, in the Lower Mainland here, we had the city of Vancouver itself. They ran out of salt last year, and then 3 of the suburbs had lots of salt that they'd been paying for on a regular basis to store for the need, and none of the mayors of those cities would sell to Vancouver any salt.
So we don't salt roads.
Yeah,
we do not salt roads. There is a certain amount of what is it?
You got that liquid stuff you spray on it.
No, the sand has a certain amount of salt mixed in. It's meth chloride, I think, something like that. Mag chloride, not meth chloride. We're not selling meth. We're not putting meth on the streets.
The city is selling meth.
Yeah, mag chloride on the streets. It's mixed in with the sand to keep the sand flowing. And, we got big sand piles. There's a building on Rouse. There's a couple different places where we have big piles of sand. And there is some salt in the sand. But unlike many cities in America and Canada, apparently, we don't salt the roads.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too hard on the roads, for one thing.
Well, it's hard on the roads, hard on the environment, hard on the creeks.
Yeah.
Because
it flows out of here somewhere.
Yeah, it goes into the stormwater, and the stormwater goes into the creek and the river and the Missouri River, and ultimately down to Louisiana by the Gulf.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just that simple.
So, the text line or Jeff line? Yeah.
Well, let's see. From our text line, about 85% of Social Security is funded through payroll tax. The remaining 15% comes from the Social Security Trust Fund interest. Considering This is the source. Politicians really have some arrogance whenever they suggest using these promised funds for some other purpose. What should have been considered is eliminating tax on Social Security to help citizens who are oftentimes on nominal fixed incomes already. Well, if you eliminate Social Security, I don't know how you're going to help future people that are on minimal fixed securities or incomes.
I think he's or she, the texter is talking about your Social Security is subject to tax in Montana.
Yeah. And I've wondered about that. If you reach a certain age, I think your Social Security shouldn't be taxed, but, whatever.
Well, I have a hard time. The guy that owns that big investment company, Berkshire Hathaway, isn't he over 70 years old? Should we give him a break on the Social Security? No. That guy should not get Social Security.
He should not get it at all,
I'm sorry, but there's, Ted Turner doesn't need Social Security, right? I mean, come on, there should be a means test in there, and we should subject more. We need to balance that.
Okay. All right. We got to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. Shane, we got a caller patiently waiting. If you could talk to them, we'll be right back with more with Jeff Krauss right after this. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. We have a caller waiting on the line that Shane has been talking to. So let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
Well, Jeff, first of all, I just wanted to let you know that last caller was really right about the fluoride in the water. And, it was sort of discussed a couple of years ago because, there was a lot of peer review research that was presented, and sort of the anti-fluoride people were ridiculed while the people who were pro-fluoride were the ones who were being paid by the Health and Human Services for dispensing it for kids and getting paid for it. So there's that, and it's really impacting the health of the community. They just don't get it yet. But why I really called was about the amount of water in this valley, and I think you're completely right about the control factor, because I remember years ago when the city prohibited people in the city from using their wells. Now, as I recall, they could use them to water their lawns, but not for drinking water. That was taken over by the city. And I know that there's so much water in this valley that I watch it being pumped out when subdivisions are being put in. I remember when the school off of Arnold and 3rd was built, that the weight of the school displaced so much water that houses on Westridge flooded. And that's why that wetland was always open down by the museum, and that was an open wetland with ducks coming in and so forth. And now the city allows wetlands to be drained, as we're seeing over here by Costco, and it's being filled in, and Delaney did so, and it's crazy. But there's so much water. A good earthquake's going to liquefy this valley. I mean, why aren't we pulling water out of the water we're sitting on instead of getting it from up in the mountains?
Well, deep wells are a possibility. There has been at least one ruling that says groundwater is tied to the surface water, and that's why there are some controls on the kinds of wells you can drill in the county now. But for the most part, we've always depended on surface water. We get water rights out of Highlight and Sourdough. And in 1983 or 4, when we tore out the Sourdough Dam and drained Mystic Reservoir, we had lots of water up there for storage as well. And we still have those water rights that we haven't been able to capture in quite the same way that we did before. I think that the surface water is probably, or the underground water that's near the surface is probably great for irrigating the parks. Irrigating, you see it a lot in commercial subdivisions. A lot of times the water that they're using is a well. We do permit wells and encourage the use of wells for irrigation. We do. you can't be hooked up to the city water and use your well water for potable water. You can't do both of those at the same time. But there are still wells in the city. I love what you discussed. I think the issue of the water is coming up through the foundation. Why can't that be captured and used to water, say, lawns in the summer? I think that is a really good discussion. Long term, developing water sources means capturing the runoff to the extent that we have water rights. Down in Colorado, what happened, of course, was the Front Range. You know, the water coming off the Front Range used to be used for agriculture, and slowly but surely, all of that became captured by the cities, the very thirsty, growing cities, and the water wasn't available for agriculture anymore. And I
have a question.
I think
So
that's a problem.
If you can't build parking lots under buildings, have engineers in Bozeman looked at cisterns, right? Like large cisterns that, out of cement under buildings to store water in.
You're obsessed with that.
It's actually not it's not a bad plan to add to the water
right.
the situation, and the city seems to be always sort of thinking in one regard, and I'm sure it's tied to grants and so forth. But if you look at the valley, we're almost like a scab of land over a body of water. I mean, that's where all the waters are draining, to the headwaters and so forth. There's an incredible amount of water here, and I know there's also a lot of black mold because the water's so close to the surface. And I've talked to different people in the building communities, and they've acknowledged that. So I think the city and county need to look at this differently. And also, it just opens up to an immense conversation, which I won't obligate you to this morning, but
I don't have the time because I got to take a break anyway.
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you for your call.
We appreciate it.
Have a great one.
All right, we got to pay some bills. So Shane, we got a caller waiting on the line. So we'll be right back. 14 minutes for the top of the hour. We got a caller waiting. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Well, I have a question for Jeff.
Sure.
I don't know the demographics between the city and the county, okay? But I'm gonna make a prediction that in a decade the county commission is going to be Democrat.
Probably I'm guessing the next election. Well, or they're going to decide whether there's a nonpartisan. They're going to go, quote, nonpartisan.
Yeah. I don't know that would go anywhere. I don't even know how much of a difference it's going to make.
It's on the ballot in the fall.
Yeah.
It's on the ballot in the fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've talked about it here on the air.
And that I don't know how that's going to affect the campaign. I certainly want to know where they stand.
Yeah. I think I think that's one of the drawbacks. Voters have a hard time. Well, and you got
to do more investigation with each candidate.
Right.
And the other thing that I wonder about is how are the funds from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party allocated, or are they at all?
Well, I guess my argument would be, Tom, that we already see the problem with judges.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and that is a problem. But yeah.
Well, the elections in the city are nonpartisan.
Yeah.
I still like to know.
Yeah.
Are you conservative or are you a Jackson spend liberal?
Yeah.
You're going to raise my taxes and drive me out of the valley.
Right.
Well, you started with the prediction, Pete, and then you were going to have a question. And we got sidetracked.
Well, no, a prediction.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
In a decade or less, you're going to have all Democrats down there in the city, and you're going to have all Democrats in the county.
And there'll be nowhere to hide.
There'll be nowhere to hide. You'll have to move out. Be moving the Wilsaw or somewhere.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Vancouver may be just our kind of town, right?
Thanks.
My question was, what are the demographics? Do you know offhand? I mean, how many people are out in the county, and how many people are within the city limits?
We have become a smaller minority of so the people in the city. By that I mean we used to be about 40% and maybe 42%, and we're down in the 30s now, I think. Mm-hmm. So we've become as the other cities and the extraterritorial outside of city limits has grown in Gallatin. The percentage that lives in Bozeman has become smaller.
Yeah, we're about 120 in the county, I think, something like that.
I
40 in the city.
50. 40, if you're going to use 120, then you got to use 50.
Yeah, because that's. Yeah.
So I guess we got a lot of Democrats moving into the county.
That is what's happening. They essentially moving here.
And MSU is growing by the day as well.
And and we've got to make it exactly like the place we moved from.
Right. So.
Or worse.
Work on that, Pete. Work on that.
So work on that, Pete. It's got to. You moved here for a reason, and that was because people here were just too darn happy.
That's it.
That's why I moved here.
All right.
Everything was happy. One thing I didn't do is I didn't try to change the damn government. I'll tell you that.
I say it this way, Pete. I moved to Montana for Montana to change me, not to change Montana.
That's why I moved here. I was a mess when I got here.
Yeah. Okay, now you're not a mess anymore.
I'm not as much of a mess as I once was. Hey, thanks, Pete.
You bet. Have a good day.
All right, we gotta do the rush update. So let's go over there and we'll get that going. And Shane, we still got a caller on the line, so if you could chat with them, we'll be right back. 4 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. Jeff Krauss in the house. We got a caller waiting on the line, but before we go to the caller, I want to get some of these texts out of the way. Tom, I was referring to eliminating the income tax on those receiving Social Security benefits if they met minimum benefit criteria and with a cap in place. My main beef is misuse of the Social Security funds for politicians' pet projects. Sorry, my text was not clear on that point. Why don't cemeteries use well water? The one in the city does, Jeff says.
Well, surface water and well water. We use untreated water.
Yeah, and in the county, of course.
That's that's not a new development, but expanding our ability to use non-treated water. We're doing that this summer.
Okay. City manager should get a 50% pay cut. So you can talk to the commission about that. When Jeff was mayor, did he have a conservative city commission? And you think only once did you have that?
Yeah, 2 years out of 16.
Yeah.
And most of the land that we've been building on this last decade was annexed into the city while that majority was here.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that pretty well covers. I think we've got them all covered. Yeah. Okay. Let's take the call. Caller, you on the air? What's going on?
Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. I'll try to make this short. Jeff, do you know how close the wastewater plant is from capacity? I'm thinking about all these people coming into our town and all this wastewater coming, bulging up. How close is the waste treatment plant coming to capacity?
I think we have quite a bit of capacity left, but here's the rub. The EPA and the DEQ watch us and our license or permit very closely. There is a lot of future shock in how the collective efforts of the people of the city of Bozeman are treated, because we put it in the East Gallatin, and people and municipalities that put their effluent in rivers are being watched as the one-point source that can clean up the whole river. And we might, before we reach the limits of capacity, we might reach the limits of technology. And that's the real challenge.
Right. Now, is that pipe that comes from the wastewater treatment plant kind of an open situation, or is that now submerged again in the East Gallatin?
I haven't visited, so I can't. I haven't floated by, so I can't tell you. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
But it's the case where the DEQ could say, well, you have to use your effluent to be cleaner than the water going by, and therefore help clean up, because they measure downstream, and that's usually works in the municipality's favor, because then there's a dilution period
by the time it gets there.
But if you're trying to clean up the river and you can't go to some source upstream from the plant and say they're the ones that are polluting, they got to clean up, the DEQ and the EPA increasingly looks at the mixing zone as a way to clean up the water.
Yeah.
Well, the volume of wastewater coming out of that treatment plant must equal or be almost as large as the river it's going into.
You would think in like late September or early October. It's why I've always thought a dam and controlled release was a good idea, because then you'd have water in the fall.
All right. I got to go. Hey, thanks for the call.
Right.
All right.
Thanks for the call.
Appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Jeff, for being here. Thanks, Shane. Say goodbye, Shane.
Thanks, Jeff. Goodbye, Mayor. Talk to you tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Be happy. Be safe.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
All right. Well, thanks, Jeff. We appreciate you coming in every Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. And, we'll see everybody bright and early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.